So you want to know how to do a blind hem on your home sewing machine. Well, it was one of the hardest things for me to learn, and actually I ended up just buying a blind hemming machine because it was just so annoying. But I've learned it for you guys, and I'm going to show you how you can do it very simply. What are you going to need? You're going to need your machine, maybe some pins, an iron, and the thread that matches the fabric. Nothing crazy. Once you know where you want your pants to be hemmed, you're going to take a chalk, mark your line, and just fold it up to that line. When you get it up to where you want it, you can either use an iron for iron basting, pin basting, or thread basting, just to hold it at that mark. You don't want it to go anywhere. So here I have my pant leg pressed to where I want it. Now we need to take the whole pant and turn it inside out. Now this is the part that gave me the most grief, and that is folding the pant so that you can run it through your machine. Now a typical blind hemmer, the way it works is instead of sewing up and down, it sews left to right. In a home sewing machine, you can't change the orientation of the needle. So what you are trying to do is folding the fabric so that it is just barely grazing the fabric as it pokes up and down through the material. So by taking your fabric and folding it back in on itself, you want to be able to see probably about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of cuff hanging out over the edge, and then you want to fold back your fabric. Now at this point, I would probably recommend using needles. You could press or thread baste it if you'd like as well, but the needles are just nicer to pull out while you're going through the machine. And that is what you should be left with, a little turn up with the raw edge of the fabric sticking out the end. So for this alteration, we are going to put it on the blind hemming stitch, which usually looks like a zigzag, but with a bunch of little zigzags, which for us is going to be E. Stitch length is fine at a 2, width, we're going to keep it a 5. We're going to remove this extra tray so that we have just the hem arm on our machine. And then we can load our pant leg in the way that we have it pinned. And then here's what we are going to do. I'm going to remove this first pin here, and we are going to use the hand wheel. Do a couple stitches like this. All right, so here it is. It's coming over towards the side of the pant that is folded over. Now we want to make sure that that needle just barely, we can put our presser foot down, just barely grabs a piece of fabric, like so. Now for me, it lines up with this joint perfect right here on the machine, so I want to keep this fold in line with that joint while also keeping my excess the same amount all the way around the hem. So we're going to go ahead and hit our foot, and you will notice there will be stitch, 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 crossover, stitch, 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 stitch. And right here you can kind of see what I'm talking about, where the stitching line is all piling up on one side and then it's barely coming over and grabbing a piece of that rolled fabric. Now I would recommend you using a matching thread as matching as possible, but for demonstration purposes I used red, and you can kind of see how it makes that stitch mark across. And then this will hold your hem up, giving you as invisible of a hem as you can get on a home sewing machine. So I'll show you an example of a pair that I did on my own where I matched the thread color to the fabric. And when you really take your time and practice with it, you can see that it's actually pretty dang invisible of a stitch that you can create. Now I wish somebody would have showed me how to do this, because it would have saved me a lot of money in the beginning of my journey and not having to buy a blind hemmer. But nonetheless, now you guys know. If you enjoyed this, share this with a friend, like, comment, gets the algorithm to boost this channel so we can do it more full time. Thank you guys for watching. Look forward to working with you next time.